Lagos and Columbia University. Is regarded as a human rights activist, a blogger, a writer, a lecturer, married in 2004 to Opoyemi, his wife, and runs a platform called the Sahara Reporters. He studied geography and planning at the University of Lagos from 1989 to 1995, and he was president of the University of Lagos Student Union government between 1992 and 1994, where he was involved in anti-cultism, anti-corruption advocacy, and then bagged a master's degree from public administration from the Columbia University. Okay, he has been arrested several times for different things, leading students' protests against the Nigerian government in 1992. In 2017, also, he was arrested by the Lagos State Police Command over a petition by a magazine publisher, Lekan Fatodu. He was also arrested in 2019 by the DSS ahead of a planned nationwide revolutionary protest, and so on and so forth. Granted bail in September 2019 by the Federal High Court, Abuja. Okay, and since then, he ran for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2019, and has been operating Sahara Reporters from different locations all over the world. Please welcome with me Mr. Sowore Omoyele. I hope I got the pronunciation of your name right. I am sure he's on the platform. Mr. Sowore, you are most welcome.
This is the edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Subaku on the program.
Can we please mute ourselves?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Mr. Omoyele. You are most welcome to the Nigerian Leadership Series. Please, can you open your mic, your video? Can you?
My video is open. Okay. My video is open. Yes, okay. My video.
All right. You are most welcome to the Nigerian Leadership Series African Leadership Group. We are established to discuss the issues of Nigeria, the situation in Nigeria. We're very, very concerned about what is going on in our country, and we're hoping through our to be able to proffer various kinds of solutions in Nigeria.
Can we please mute people? Can we mute everybody?
I'm muted already.
Please, everybody should please mute their microphones, please. It's important so that we can have a very smooth program today. So I was saying that the African Leadership Group is focused on promoting leadership and leadership values across Africa and encouraging the right kind of leadership in Africa, and doing quite a bit of work in Nigeria, even at this time. We're also trying to ensure that as many people as possible that visit the platform or get on the platform also get involved in the process of leadership development and leadership selection in our country. And we're trying to get as many ideas as possible from different kinds of people in Nigeria, in the diaspora, who are interested in Nigeria. As I said, we're non-partisan, non-religious, non-ethnic, non-racial, and non-political. We're just interested in contributing our quota to the leadership development of Nigeria. So, Mr. Sowore, you are most welcome, and I'm pleased to meet you. I don't think we've met physically or personally before, but I'm happy that you're able to agree to come on the platform. Today, we're going to be talking about various issues about Nigeria. We're going to be asking ourselves if there's an alternative or if there's a real alternative. Okay, that's what we're asking today, if there really is a real alternative to ensuring that we either have a different political process or a different process of electing good leadership in Nigeria. But by way of a start, maybe you should just reintroduce yourself briefly, why you have taken up quite a lot of the activism that you seem to have taken up over the last few years. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Pastor Itua, and I'm also grateful to the African leadership group that got me invited to this. When you started, you said a lot of emotions were evoked when they heard I was coming on this platform. That's the way it should be for someone like me who is known by a lot of people and also known by a variety of people. It's understandable that some will oppose and some will accept. What is important is for us to keep pushing the barriers of leadership until we get to that point that we start talking to real leaders and not dealers, which has been the nature and character of Nigeria in the last 60 years. By way of introduction, once again, my name is Omoyele Sowore. I have been around Nigeria for half of the period of independence of Nigeria. When I say half, if Nigeria has been independent for 30 years, I have been around for 60 years, I have been around actively engaged in the process of nation building for 30 of those 60 years. So I can tell you a little bit about what Nigeria has been through, having been through 7 presidents between 1989, when I stepped into the University of Lagos in particular, and 2021, when I stepped out of, 2019, when I stepped out of detention. I started going to detention since 1992. When I protested against the Babangida regime. I was part of the student leaders who protested against the Babangida regime under the leadership of Chief Gani Fawehinmi, Femi Falana, Olisa Agbakoba, Ayo Obe, Shehu Sani. A lot of these persons are still alive, who were our leaders in those days. And in 2019, after having done 10 straight years of fighting, I said 1999, I left to go to the US, and I spent 20 years in the US before returning to Nigeria to partake in a political process, because I got tired of complaining about leadership in Nigeria. Because what we keep hearing is that, well, go fight for a better Nigeria. And when you fight up to a point, at that point that Nigeria is getting or supposed to get better, we abandon the process of selection of leaders to charlatans. And the result we get is in Nigeria, you have to do it in front of you. A country that has lost territory, that has lost integrity, that is unable to protect its own people, that has nothing substantial to show for 60 years of existence. Even countries on the continent of Africa that got independence after Nigeria are doing way better than Nigeria. Countries like the United Arab Emirates, I'm not talking about their period of independence, built one of its best cities over 20 years period. But we haven't been able to do anything even though we've made as much money, or even more money in terms of revenue from sales of oil than they did within that same period. This is what has always been the center of my life, even when I was out of Nigeria. What drove me to set up Sahara Reporters was this idea of fighting from wherever I could to make Nigeria a better country. And as we all have agreed, our major problem is leadership. Anybody telling you anything else is not telling the truth. We have not had the right kind of leaders that would have made this country one of the best countries to exist on the surface of this earth. We haven't. And it is because we haven't also made a deliberate effort to create atmospheres, to lead our country. We have outsourced this opportunity to people who don't understand what it means to lead a country. As I often say, some of the people who have led Nigeria during my own lifetime are not qualified to run a WhatsApp group of 256 participants. So this is where these kind of leaders have left us, a completely broken country today. So I hope that explains a little bit more about my background.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for that. Can you just tell us from your perspective, your knowledge of Nigeria, the history of Nigeria, the background of Nigeria, why you really think Nigeria is where it is today? That's question number one. And then question number two, what then do we do in a granulated way to ensure that we create or recreate a new Nigeria, or a Nigeria that can respond to the requirements of 21st century development? Did you hear my question? We can't hear you.
I didn't hear the question very well. Can you please repeat? Pastor? I think your admin needs to really manage. There's a lot of interruptions coming from participants. I don't know how best to manage this. It's interfering with your. Yes, there's a lot of interferences coming from participants. I think your group admin should figure out a way, to the host should figure out a way to handle this, please.
We are on it.
Okay, very good. So please, can you repeat the question, Pastor? Now it seems to be cleaner now. I can respond.
Right. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Okay. People keep on muting themselves. Can I please appeal to everyone to please keep your microphone muted at this point in time so that we can have a clean conversation? Okay, please keep your microphone muted. Thank you. Thank you very much. My question is this: from your perspective, from your knowledge of Nigeria, from your knowledge of the history of Nigeria, and so on and so forth, question number one, why do you think Nigeria is where it is at this point in time? Why do you think Nigeria is where it is at this point in time? Maybe I should just leave it to that question for now.
Yeah.
And then I can add the add-on question, which is,
Yes.
Please go ahead.
One of it is historical, which is undeniable. Nigeria was never created as a nation. Nigeria was set up as a business by the British. And when you set up a business, it's strictly for profit making. In fact, the guy who came to Nigeria to run the business of Nigeria, Lord Lugard, was a soldier of fortune who had gone to Uganda, which is now known as Uganda and Tanzania, and failed over there. He was then moved to Nigeria to oversee how the Brits would take over what then became the new resource. It wasn't crude oil, but palm oil, which the Niger Delta people were already good at selling. But the British had given Nigeria to what later became the USC, managed by one government, to set it up as a business where the export of these products could be flowing into what is known as Liverpool today in the UK. That's the main port area. So they ran Nigeria up to the point where they discovered the northern part and the southern part should come together. It's like a merger of two companies, merger and acquisition. And they manage both sides differently with different system of governance, different strategies, just so that they would suit the Brits. But when they were done during the period of independence, when they were going to hand Nigeria over to leaders, they handed Nigeria over to leaders who were not prepared. Quite honestly, you know, sometimes we are too quick to praise. Yes. We are too quick to praise our founding fathers, too quick to praise them. Our founding fathers didn't do any great job of setting up Nigeria as a nation either. They were all fighting over their individual preferences of Nigeria. And you can't blame them also. They didn't fight a real independence war. While other nations were fighting for the soul of their countries and driving out the British, Nigerians were traveling to London and coming back to drink tea. Independence was handed over to Nigeria on a platter of gold. So those leaders, of course, did not have any commitment, no loyalty. And I bet that they also did not have any much preparedness. For instance, the independence of Nigeria could have happened in 1956 or 1957 or thereabout. The leaders in the North were not ready for independence, and they slowed down the rest of Nigeria until 1960 when it eventually happened. How Nigeria actually moving from crisis to crisis. Well, who do you blame that on? What do you blame that on? Leadership. Because had there been leadership good enough to manage Nigeria when Nigeria was smaller, better manageable than it is now, there was no leadership on ground to do it. The soldiers of fortune that created Nigeria, the Brits, made sure that they handed over Nigeria to new soldiers of fortune who were black. And they kept running Nigeria.
Talk to your admin to mute.
Yes. The same way the British authorities were managing Nigeria before they left. They did not leave Nigeria in the hands of people they didn't trust. And for most nations that were successful, they had to drive the Brits out of their space. They didn't hand over from one colonial master to internal colonial masters. That is why Nigeria became what it is. And then we had civil war, which was as a result of a lot of mistakes that could have been solved by great leadership, but that was absent. And after civil war came military rule. Buzzards who managed and mismanaged Nigeria up until 1979, when they put an incompetent president in the place of an Awolowo who was competent and everybody knew it. They handed over Nigeria to Shagari, who everybody knew was incompetent because the man who was handing over power at that time hated intellectualism. And he still does it today. That is Olusegun Obasanjo. So Shagari managed to mismanage Nigeria into crisis until he handed power over to another incompetent criminal who is known as, he literally handed over power to Buhari because they knew that Buhari was going to take over power. He couldn't do anything about it. And then when Buhari left, the same happened with the coup. He was kicked out by drug addicts and drug couriers. I'm telling you the story, the real story of Nigeria, not the one you find in those sponsored histories in Nigeria. And the guy's name is Babangida. When Babangida was supposed to leave, he ensured that Nigeria did not experience the leadership it chose in 1993. That was after dribbling Nigeria for several years, between 1985 and 1993. There was an election in this country, somebody won the election. His name is MKO Abiola. They did not hand over power to him, claiming that some military officers, some of them now incapacitated, did not want Abiola to become the president of Nigeria. Instead, they wanted one of their own. And who was that one of their own? The guy who did not even partake in any election. His name is Steve Shonekan. Shonekan was in power for 82 days. I have never seen any level of criminal conspiracy against a people like that. And then they prepared the ground for one of Nigeria's worst citizens to become the head of state in the name of Sani Abacha. Sani Abacha died. Another military general, the very ineffective buffoon, came and took over power, raided the Nigerian treasury. I'm not mincing words here. Raided the Nigerian treasury. Let me finish that. Let me finish. Abdul Salam, and then they went and recruited Obasanjo from prison. At the time that Abiola was also in prison, why was the preference for Obasanjo to be released?
I don't like.
Yes.
Sure.
I can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
No, it's okay. Mr. Sowore,
so what I'm saying is that don't shun him down. Let him speak. He's speaking out the minds of some of us. At 78, they want to grab me. Let them grab me. I've lived my life. This is not the country we deserve. So don't shut him down. Let's show respect.
I don't want him to use words.
It's him. He's the one talking. You are not the one talking. Let him tell us the history. Some of us know things.
I agree.
But there are unverified statements, though.
No. Okay, calm down.
What is unverified?
IP.
What is unverified? That Babangida and his wife were drug couriers. Is that unverified? What is unverified?
Yes,
what is unverified?
Very verified.
That's not a fact.
Very verified thing.
That's
not a fact.
Verified.
Let's not interrupt this process, please. Leave this between me and Mr. Sowore, please. Nobody should please butt into this conversation at this point in time. Mr. Sowore, I'm just going to appeal to you. Let's leave it on the facts of, let's not call people names, please. Let's not call people names. Let's just leave it on the facts of facts, okay? Thank you. Let's go on, please. Unmute yourself. Mr. Sowore, you have to unmute yourself.
My facts are facts that are unassailable. But what is important to me is that I'm presenting myself to you as a citizen of Nigeria who observed Nigeria's history 30 out of 60 years. And everything I have presented today, I can verify anywhere I'm taken to. As I told you before, I have been arrested. It's public knowledge several times. Some of my arrests were related to statements I made publicly about Nigerian leaders. When I was detained in 2019, Pastor Etua, one of the reasons I was detained was because they claimed, even though they didn't say it publicly, they told me when I was in DSS detention, the communicado, that story, that the chief of staff to the current president, Buhari, collected a bribe of 500 million naira from MTN. That's the reason they detained me. And I told them to charge me for that offense so that I can prove it in court. They couldn't charge me. They were using DSS as a subterfuge to protect the regime because they didn't want their underbelly to be exposed to the world. So every language I'm using, I understand that this can be very uncomfortable, but these people you are trying to be decent about have been calling us names for 60 years. They are calling people who are asking for their freedom rascals, radicals. You know, they're calling them terrorists. Yesterday, the spokesperson to the president said that Amnesty International, a body that's been fighting for human rights globally for years, is a terrorist sympathizer simply because they are calling out the government over its human rights abuses. They call us names too. So if they're entitled to do that, we're also entitled to do so categorically based on facts. So that's my point. But I understand that it could be a little uncomfortable for men like you. I don't want them to come after you, but they can definitely come after me anytime they want. I'm available. And there was a joke I shared on Facebook, which is true, after this Zoom meeting was organized, that the DSS was looking for Zoom streets in Abuja because they thought it was going to be a typical meeting. That's how dumb they are. But that's the truth. Their default reaction to citizenship, citizen interaction, is to employ, the tactics of oppression at all times. So, but what I'm telling you, which I wanted to finish before that interruption, was clearly, very clearly, to give a timeline of the leadership that brought Nigeria to what it is, so that we don't make any mistake about what brought us to where we are, because there are names, individuals, there are organizations, there are groups that were responsible for all this. And that is those groups' names, especially those ones who are still alive and trying to rewrite history, like Babangida was trying to do recently when they were celebrating his 80 years on earth. I have to be stopped because a whole new generation of Nigerians don't know this fact, because surreptitiously, even directly, they no longer allow history to be taught in our educational institutions anymore. So it behooves on people like me, you, and others who are here participating today to let people know what these guys did to destroy Nigeria and to make one of the countries that ought to have been biggest, the most powerful Black nation on earth, to become so powerless today, weak and denigrated to the point that Nigeria is a butt of jokes around the world. Nobody can be happy about that. So when you see or hear people like me speak with passion over these issues, just understand that it is not anger. It is a passionate way of telling the truth.
All right, thank you very much. I'm really very grateful for that. Yeah, so that historical analysis, very clear, very understood. So what do we do from here? We are now here 2021. We're in a place where Nigeria is not quite where it's supposed to be. We're facing another set of elections in 2023. You ran in 2019. First of all, what were your strategies to try and win in 2019? Are you planning to run in 2023? Or how are you going to help Nigeria sincerely and seriously get the kind of leadership that you think Nigeria deserves?
Thank you very much. I will tell you that our biggest problem is what we have been doing that we know cannot take us to where we should be. And for us to now start doing things that would work for the future. But I'm afraid of something. I think our major problem is that we haven't been able to do, or we're not willing to do what needs to be done to get to where we should be. Yes, it is true that I ran in 2018 and 2019. Not only did I run, I started a political party after we began with a political movement known as Take It Back. And in this political party or movement that we started, we did the unthinkable with the least amount of resource. And what was unthinkable? We traveled around Nigeria. I traveled by road, by water, by air where possible, to over 34 states. Most of the states I traveled twice. First for a town hall meeting, and then subsequently for a campaign rally. So we wanted to change the way politics is done. And we did go ahead and do that. But we found out quickly that the Nigerian political process had been so polluted and destroyed and poisoned by the political class that I described to you in my very unique historical timelines, that it would take a different kind of processes to bring about a politics that allows people with great intentions, people with intellect, people with character to lead any arm of our political process. So when we're done with that election, when I say election, I'm talking about it literally. In reality, in 2019, there was no election. INEC, which is, in my view, one of the political parties in Nigeria masquerading as an electoral body, just connived with the ruling party, and where the other political party had influence, they also connived there. You know, INEC is an equal opportunity corruption body. Wherever the highest bidder is and where they see the most machetes, they cooperate and allocated numbers to political parties. Elections did not happen in most parts of Nigeria in 2019. And as soon as the elections were over, we didn't waste time in telling Nigerians, based on our experience going around the country, that Nigeria was going down if we don't change our thought processes. You know, the revolution of the mind. If we don't change our attitudes to abuse and oppression, the revolution of thoughts, and that ultimately we needed to change how we handle our abusers and oppressors. That was the physical revolution that we started preaching to revolution now in 2019. And when that got up to a point, what did we get? The system came and bear the facts on all the young people who wanted to go in this different direction. And what was different direction? We said, look, before we think about another election, let's do a total overhaul of the electoral process. Let's also go after the judiciary, because these people have planted their people in every sector of the country, such that even if you win in a physical election, let's assume elections happen, the judges and their lawyers will lay you in a courtroom. It might be a courtroom that has no jurisdiction on the matter and take you out of the picture, and there's nothing you can do about it. Can we continue like this? The answer was no. But the question was, were Nigerians willing to take these radical steps? Not many people were willing to take the radical steps. That was how they managed us back to the cycle of acceptance and stability that allowed the regime to crush every opposition that they had. And today, look at what Nigeria is. Will I run in an election in 2023 the way I know Nigeria to be now, the way I know INEC to be, the way I know the judiciary to be? I will be lying to you, that any decent person can win elections in Nigeria anytime soon, as long as the status quo remains in place. That is why I am in favor of a revolution first. And when that is done, like other countries have done all over the world, when they are choked by the system of oppression like we have had in Nigeria now, which is overdue for rehabilitation. That's how people react. You cannot cohabit with oppression and expect freedom and liberation and emancipation. It's not going to work. So the simplistic way out of this is to become part of the statistics for 2023 in an election that has already been decided in 2021. I don't want to be part of that. I will continue to toe the path that is honest, even though it might be income, but it will be on record that I did not partake in deceiving people to go and collect PVC, which in my view is poverty verification cards. Because you hold it, they pay you, they take the card from you, you elect people that will cheat you for another 4 years. The solution, therefore, Pastor Etua, is for Nigerians to be thinking progressively on how to get out of this cul-de-sac. Because, as I have been quoted or saying many times, a lot of Nigerians have mentally seceded from this country that we are living in. They are only physically trapped. So, because they understand, it is no longer popular to even talk about Nigeria as a nation, as a country to a lot of people. You see a lot of secession groups. Everybody wants to leave. Everybody wants to leave what has become clearly a contraption. Nigeria has become a junkyard of, failed leaders. And the country that is run by failed leaders cannot progress. So we must fight to create the opportunity and the democratic space for leaders that can take the country to glory. The current leaders and their supporters and the system that is managing Nigeria as it is today cannot deliver free and fair elections in 2023. They can't. I would also have predicted that Nigeria cannot make it to 2023. But here is one skill that these failed leaders have in Nigeria. They are capable of managing Nigeria from crisis to crisis. Even if if Nigeria is left with one state, they will manage it to 2023 and claim that Nigeria is still intact. Because already now, honestly, Nigeria doesn't have the complete territory. You go to the Northwest, half of it is taken over by people they call bandits. Northeast, half of it is under the control of bandits. You go to North Central, half of it is under the control of herdsmen. You go to Northeast, half of it is under the control of whatever forces are operating in those places. But the leaders or the dealers or wheeler dealers, I like to call them, know how to manage a country from crisis to crisis. So don't count on any prediction that, there won't be election in 2023. They will hold elections, or they will hold their ritualistic, selection processes that imposes, worse leaders on Nigeria that we've ever had before.
Thank you very, very much. I want you to reiterate a little bit on this issue that you've just described. And more or less, you've said that a lot of our institutions have failed, or they are under the control of different kinds of political leaders or political leaders, okay? You mentioned INEC, you mentioned the Judiciary, you mentioned maybe even the security forces to some extent are under the control of these people. Then there's a baggage of electorate or election or votes that they are sort of in control of. I want you to reiterate that a little bit so that people can understand exactly what you mean. And if you have any idea of who the groups or the different groups are that you think are controlling these different parts of our institutions that will not allow for free and fair elections. And if you have a rough idea of who you think the people or these groups of people will be deciding on in 2023, because you did mention that why are we wasting our time in a process that has already been decided? Do you have any idea who they have decided on and which way this whole thing is going to end up?
Yeah, thank you very much. So the people who make the decisions on our behalf, that is, as the Nigerian state is presently composed, they come from different, there are different groups. But these days, there's a whole lot of connotation that it is very ethnic and religious. And if you look at the security services, for instance, they are in the hands of a particular, ethnic group, which is concentrated in the north. And I'm not one of the people who would typically preach ethnicity, but it is glaring to us. We will be deceptive of the realities, the visual, the factual reality on the ground, if we do not concede to the facts that there is a monolithic central northern control of security agencies. And also, that happens to INEC. But there's also a cabal that is, pan-Nigeria, that controls things. And this cabal also have control over different subsectors. For instance, the Central Bank of Nigeria is not run by a notary. It is a powerful institution of government. But you go to the Judiciary, it's run by someone from the north. There were recently over 62 judges, now I'm going to cabal, that were appointed to man the FCT court system, that's Federal Capital Territory. I usually call it the Federal Capital of Thieves, but you asked me not to call names. So
thank you very much.
Out of these 62 judges, 60 of them are children and wards of former judges or acting judges. So where do I get justice in the FCT? When somebody can walk to his father's house and say, when my opponent can walk to the home of the father of his judge and say, please let me talk to your son. This is the cola, to ensure that this poor man doesn't get justice, even when the man is not very poor. They use influence. You go to the police, it's in the hand of a particular set of people from the country. You go to customs, you go to the EFCC, which is a group that can be used to stifle someone's political ambition if they want, just by accusing you generally of something. They can stifle your political ambition without people asking questions. So as to who they are going to decide to be president or governor, well, it is for them to put structure in place for whomever will emerge first, the institution to be rigged in preparation for whomever they present. Whoever they want to present could be dead he will still win. Most people in Nigeria did not know that a dead man once ran this country for 5 months. If I ask a general question, most people will not be able to answer. But the man known as Umar Yar'Adua was dead, brain dead for 5 months, and he was president of Nigeria based on falsehood. Everybody in the political class, they were lying, they were lying. Some of them went to Saudi Arabia, they didn't see him, they came back, started clapping, just like one of our brothers now that is in London, that he said he's not sick, but everybody is visiting London. And I'm not going to mention names because I don't want them to drive you out of Lagos. You see, this is part of the packaging and lie that has become part of Nigeria's way of doing politics that brought us here. What do you expect if they have their way? This person will be made president even when we all know that it's probably falling apart. Don't get me wrong. Anybody, even I at the age of 50, could fall sick. Anybody could fall sick. Newborn baby could fall sick. Nobody should mock anybody that's sick. What we should not accept is to allow Nigeria to be run by another person who is sick, who refuses to accept or admit that they are sick. That is where I have a problem. So that is the institutions that matter. I have direct, I have direct encounters with INEC, and I can tell you categorically that INEC is one of the most terrible institutions in this country, controlled by different powers, controlled by different cabals. So if they want INEC to conduct an election that will produce a particular candidate, they will ask INEC to go out there, then they will support INEC different security forces. Some of them have over police, some of them have power over the army, some of them have power to combine all these forces to impose on you a candidate that you didn't vote for. A state in this country, Pastor, has a governor that never participated in an election. That is what we are talking about. That one wasn't done by INEC or security forces. It was done by the Supreme Court. So any of these institutions can give you a candidate that they want that you may not have even heard of before. So this is what I mean by these candidates. But as time goes on, we will find out who the candidates are, and we will be updating Nigerians. But I don't want us to just stay in a position where we are only updating. My call on Nigerians, my call on you, Pastor Itua, and others who are here listening and watching, is for us to be proactive, not to be caught napping all the time, not to be told that, well, it has happened, let's pray over it, let's hope everything is okay. Oh, well, it has happened, let's wait for another 4 years, maybe their tenure will soon be over. And when their tenure is over, they would have, primed their kids to take over from you, and you just live in a perpetual state of expectation. And when these expectations go on forever and they don't come to pass, you become delirious and disillusioned, or sometimes even delusional about your country. And that is where it is the reason why I don't want to keep telling people everything is going to be all right if you wait till 2023. There is no 2023 in the real sense of it. If things continue the way they are, and 2 years, in my view, is long enough for citizens to wake up and say, wait a minute, we are not going to just be following you blind into another blind alley that will take us in conditions that are worse than we are coming from. So we say, enough is enough, except we agree on how elections are held properly, except we agree on who is allowed near the ballot papers and ballot boxes, except we agree on election funding, except we agree on electoral acts that allows for transmission of results, except in my view, that we also agree on independent candidates so that everybody is not beholden to political, gerrymanderers and carpetbaggers who move from political party to the other overnight. And these are also part of what sabotages our political experiences in this country. Those are issues that we must stop and address at first. Opening our eyes as it is and following this INEC that I know in Abuja to another election result and you got from 2019. And don't forget, since 2019, the elections that have followed have gotten progressively worse. Look at Kogi, where they had what they call Tatata democracy. Elections. They killed as many people, and the people who won the election are governors today. Look at Imo. Look at Ondo, which is my home state, where they were shooting right in front of everybody. And then when the shooting couldn't procure the election for them, they started distributing money, physically, and empty. Now the governor cannot pay full salaries anymore because he has spent all the money on election. Cannot be isolated from our collective desire to be free. We are not a free people. Don't let us keep deceiving ourselves that you can be in bondage on one hand and still choose your leader on the other. It's not possible. Or leaders on the other hand. It's not. These are things that don't make any sense.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sowore. And yeah, we hear you loud and clear. I hear you very, very well. And these your views. I think this is the first time I'm hearing you really articulate your views and your point of view so clearly. I have just one or two more questions to ask you, and I can see people already lifting up their hands, wanting to ask you questions. So I'm going to give them the privilege to do so. But please, we'll take it one by one. But I have one or two more questions to ask you, and then I will allow others to ask you questions. The question is this: you have articulated very clearly what the issues with Nigeria are. A set of different cabals who have arrested our process, truncated it, corrupted it, taking control of it, and are manipulating largely the people here and there. And now you have a whole bunch of innocent people, some of us largely ignorant, if I dare say, and unaware of where we are. You know, these things you said, a lot of Nigerians are not even aware of where we are, which is very, very unfortunate, okay? Even since the time of the British, they didn't know that the British or the colonialists never really left, and that we're still under their kind of influence one way or the other. What do we do?
You said so. I'll send you a text message. Sorry, a WhatsApp message.
Please, Busui Onobolu, my laureate, thank you. Please, what do we do, Mr. Sowore, as citizens now to move Nigeria in one way or the other, or to make sure that we have a fair process? I think you've mentioned a few things in terms of what we need. The issue is, how do we do it? How do we get innocent people, ordinary Nigerians, to ensure that we really create this future? And then my second question, which I want you to take so that I don't come back, is a few of the people who you featured in Sahara Reporters here and there, sometimes they're not, they say some reporting that is a bit inaccurate, sometimes vindictive, or let me not use that word, let me say personalized and directed at their persons. I don't know if you want to speak to that, just for the sake of people who are listening. But so those are two questions. One is directed at the nation, one is directed at your profession. and then I'll take questions from the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. So, this is my first time of meeting you in person, but I've followed you a bit. When I say in person, virtually, but I followed you a bit. I heard you speak on national matters, and I'm impressed. And one of the things I think we should be doing is to also start to use the platform that you and your colleagues have, to start using theology for liberation, instead of what is widely used for now. Because having lived in America for 20 years myself, one of the places I traveled to upon arriving in America was Birmingham and Selma, Alabama, Georgia and Alabama in particular. And I spent a good amount of time to study Martin Luther King and what he did there. And the church was very, very powerful in liberating Blacks from the grip of racism and oppression and even slavery. I usually would think sometimes, Pastor, that I wish that on Sunday, some pastors could just lead their congregation on the streets and say, we have had enough of oppression because we cannot continue like this. And I know some of your churches have 50,000 people attending every Sunday. If we can get 5 of those churches on the street on a Sunday, the government will not be able to ignore the call for liberation. The same thing applies to mosque on Fridays, until all of us come together to just fight this battle, because we have all identified the need for Nigeria to move forward. But it has to be an organic process. We cannot just do it in the clouds. We can't just wish that Nigeria will move forward, because it has to have a number of components to it. And part of the components will be physical action, intellectual action. The day the people, the ruling class, understand that everybody is speaking with the same voice, even on Twitter, that the Christians, the Muslims, the animists, the atheists, because like most people don't know, atheism is also religion, because it's a religion that is trying to prove that there's no God. So everybody that is involved in all this should all come together. And the moment we do, the government will no longer be able to ignore the calls that we are making. If on a Sunday, all the churches are saying that they don't want the INEC chairman and these current corrupt commissioners in INEC to continue, the government will have no reason other than to start attending to it. But I also don't want us to make a mistake, or the mistake of asking for tokenism in terms of change for Nigeria. They can ask them to fire out their ministers. They can fire ministers, they will still bring in even worse ministers. But the persons or groups that need to be fired must be identified, called out, so that people can move in that same direction. So, Pastor, is the reason why I will ask that we start having conversations underground that can bring all of us together. Everybody right now is fighting in different directions. Everybody is fighting for himself. Even churches, as I monitor them, some are saying one pastor is better than the other. That's not my problem. At this point, what our spirit needs is liberation. And there's no amount of anointing oil that can give you liberation. I'm not condemning anointing oil. But if people start speaking strongly to power, that theology will lead us to emancipation. The Bible has got a place for it to be preached to the world. The Quran has got a place for it to be preached to the world. And the moment they discover that everybody is speaking the same language, they will understand that there's no prison big enough in Nigeria to take everybody who is opposed to dictatorship in this country. None. I spent 5 months in DSS. There's nothing there. All of it is just fear factor. It's just want to make you be afraid. The detention, well, they have not released him. Judge says she stay in Abuja and all those kind of things. Fear factor. So the moment we get over this fear, and it is those of you who have the platform to spread the message of freedom, to let people know, like Bob Marley said, that we can emancipate ourselves from mental slavery first, because nobody but ourselves can free our own minds, and not to be afraid of the atomic energy which the government represents to us. Nothing else can free us better than taking that truth to the public. Then your second question, which is regarding our reporters, that funded in 2006. Our reporters has been around for 15 years now, and written a lot of stories, lots of stories. And none of the stories have been challenged in any fair, open manner that has not stood. When I say challenge, fair and open, I'm not talking about people who go to a judge who is a member of their church in a very shady manner. Even those ones that have not succeeded. A good press, a good media platform is never the friend of the powerful. I'll say that to you. So I admit that the powerful, when they get offended, they say, well, they are fairly targeted. Yes, it is true. I get targeted by the media too. And I get sued frequently by the media, including, with due respect, Pastor Etua, a lot of pastors, general overseers, they sue me. They sue our reporters. But where the judiciary is fair and just, they can't win, because you cannot win where truth is justification. If anybody has ever defeated us in 15 years in court, I'm not talking about kangaroo courts, so talking about, judiciary that is properly functioning. We would have closed shop. None. So what typically happens is that before Sahara Reporter came on board, I'll give you a very small analogy. Somebody will go and carry out armed robbery at somebody's house. And then when the press want to report it, they will say an unknown armed robber raided an unknown house at an unknown time. Once Sahara came on board, we started mentioning names, because the infractions committed by people who are public officers or public figures have consequences on life. So when somebody steals money, instead of saying an unknown governor stole this amount of money, we say, well, the governor of so-so state stole this amount of money, and this is the document. And they can't prove us wrong. What do? They tell people that we are unfair on them because their names were mentioned. Or that the former head of state got a contract, say from Delta State. This one, I don't need to mention his name, to help them as a consultant to construct a chicken farm in Delta State under Governor Uduagan. There's no chicken farm till today, and this former head of state, we presented the check, 780 million naira to the public. If you ask him now, you say Sahara is unfair to him. You can go on and on like that. There are about 5,000 stories on Sahara Reporters platform that have named names, and these events have come to pass. Or is it breaking stories about people's health? That is what people are complaining about. But if you set up a good press or media outfit, it's bound to offend the powerful. And that's what the media is there for. Democracy itself sits on 4 legs: the judiciary, you know, the legislative arm, the executive, but the strongest leg is the media. You know, so that's why they call it the fourth estate of the realm. But in Nigeria, the judiciary, the media has become the fourth estate from the rear. You know, everybody who's an editor wants to graduate to become the spokesperson to the governor or president. How do you expect the media then to play its watchdog role? So that's what I would say to you with regards to Sahara reporters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take questions now from the general public. I see quite a lot of hands up. I don't know these hands that are up right now. I don't know if Citizen Oluwashino, is your hand up or not? I don't think so. All right, and is your hand up? Okay, your hand is up. Okay, so Ose McDouglas and Adewale Ademiguji and Anthony Ugebo, can I please have your questions very quickly? Those four, please don't greet anybody, don't thank anybody, don't congratulate anybody. Just go straight to the question. You can mention your name and then just go to the question and the comment. The whole place is full of hands being raised. We want to take as many as possible. And my request also, Mr. Sowore, is that please just note the questions and answer them sharp, so that we can satisfy as many people as possible. We don't want any kind of hard language or any kind of angry language today. Please, let's keep everywhere very calm so we can have a meaningful discussion. Thank you. Oluwatosin, unmute yourself, ask your question.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this platform. My question or observation is that I've been following the election in Nigeria for a few years now, from 2013, and my observation is that during the Mr. Sowore's presentation, that election doesn't work, and that last year election was rigged, and all that. I might have a different opinion, and I want to share with him. Maybe that might change his mind to run for 2023, because I'm looking forward to that. Now, my observation is that the middle class in Nigeria, they have left election to artisans and to the area boys. That is why we think election is being rigged in Nigeria. In a real sense, election is not rigged and vote count. If votes don't count, politicians will not be paying thousands of naira to voters at the polling unit to buy their vote. I think what we need to do as young politicians that are coming up is how we can give our followers enough and adequate election education, political education, so that they will be equipped. Because if we, all over the world, election remains only the viable means of replacing leaders. If we don't take elections seriously, then we will continue to have the same circle of guys we have now that we think that are not working anything, that are not doing anything. So I also want to put it to Mr. Sowore, because I've been following your activity for many years now, before, since the days of Take It Back. I think you should invest more time too in youth education on election. Encourage people to go get their PVC. The reason we think election is manipulated or rigged is because the number of people that have PVC, they are artisans and
Stop this guy now. I mean, he's preaching. Ask a question, please.
When it gets your time, you should ask to.
Please don't interrupt him, please. Please.
So we should encourage people to to get their PVC so that they can vote, because election remain only the viable means of replacing leaders all around the world. And if people are not equipped with this information to go get their PVC and we sanitize them to vote in the coming election, then we have the same circle of leaders we have now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, the next person, go straight to your comment or your question. Don't make it long-winded. We don't have time. Thank you. Mr. Who is next? Mr. Infinix Hot 5, did you have your hand up? Okay, yeah, lying down comfortably. Ose McDouglas, please, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, Pastor Ikwa, I just did that. Okay, Mr. Sowore, I like to say to you that in form of advice or suggestion, you know, you have the cloud, you have the ideas, but I want to suggest that, like the last speaker took my point straight out like that. I need you to exert more effort on voter education, electoral education. Let's have the younger people, the youth, get them to be educated, not to sell out their conscience for a mere $500, 500 naira for PVC, you know. So I think if we are able to build the grassroots, the kids, the younger ones from the grassroots, then they will realize there is power in those PVC that they are selling cheaply. And also, and this is personal to you, when you came on the last time to run, you had very good ideas, but your ideals were poor. Were poor in the sense that you came around and started off with a revolution. You are a student of history, and as well as every one of us in here, anytime there's going to be a change and we are starting off and saying we want that revolution, the power that be are so scared, they're so afraid of those words. Therefore, we will be starting at a very negative, a minus from our side. So let's do some internal calculation. Let's do some education. Nigerian electorate are not educated. The people in the market are not educated.
Thank you very much. Don't let's repeat ourselves because of time, man.
All right,
thank
sir.
you. We've gotten that point. He's noted the point. Thank you. Please don't repeat a question that has already been asked, okay? We want to really be efficient here. And please go straight to your question or your comment. Mr. Ogebo, please, Anthony Ogebo. Please unmute yourself. I will call everybody if we're all patient. Mr. Ogebo, please unmute yourself. Go straight to your point of question.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Omoyele Sowore,
good afternoon.
So the question I have is this. Restructuring or decentralization. We all know Nigeria's problems are monumental problems all over the place. But I see Nigeria like this. We are different civilizations, whether we know it or not. We're different civilizations. Different Ijaw, Fulani, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, and so on, which is obvious. By decentralizing the country, by restructuring the country, as indicated in the beginning of Nigeria, the idea in the beginning, those guys who started Nigeria recognized this and wanted Nigeria to function in that direction. That way, each group can go at their own pace. You see, this whole lumping together we have right now is a disaster. So my question to you is this. How do you see restructuring or decentralization of the country, whereby each group can go at their own pace? The center, Abuja, will just be like a referee with minimal powers having to do with international affairs and so on and so forth. But the regions and the various groups and the states in this case will have most of the authority to do what they have to do at their own pace. How do you see that helping this country to get out of this madness we find ourselves?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ifeanyi will take your question very quickly. Ifeanyi, you wanted, your hands are raised. Please unmute yourself. We'll take your question. I'm going in a sequence. Please.
Okay. My own is a contribution. Me, I don't support we wait till. I hope you can hear me. Me, I don't support we wait till 2023 for election. So many things are going bad right now in the country, and we need to rise up from now to put the government under pressure to work and give us what they have voted for. The education system is really bad. Look at the hospitals. The doctors are on strike, and the minister is busy of insulting them. So we need to fix our education. We need to fix our healthcare, and we should start asking them to do that. Any government that is not ready to give us these services, we should not be comfortable. We should make sure we demand for these things. And if they can't give us, they will not be comfortable. They will have to leave into 2023. That's my own position.
Thank you. Mr. Sowore, do you want to reply to these questions, or do we take a few more?
You can take a few more. Some of them are similar in nature.
Okay, all right.
So we can hear
okay, very good. Mr. Ibe, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Please make it very straight to the point.
Sharply. I believe that, like what Sowore has been saying, that the problem of Nigeria is the masses, not primarily the leaders. Yeah, I know that we have bad leaders, failed leaders, but I want to urge him to try and synthesize the people and carry the people along, because I think the masses, if really the masses we decide that Nigeria is going to change, I believe Nigeria is going to change. So this selling of vote and everything, I believe it is more of the masses than just the leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That question has been asked before, but it's okay. Please don't repeat a question that has been asked before. If your question has already been asked, don't bother to ask it. You can put your hands down. Mr. Arun, please unmute yourself. Go straight to the point. Unmute yourself. You're having problem with technology? Okay, Mr. Kayode, please. Sikiru Kayode, unmute yourself. Go to your point.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening. Okay, so my contribution here is regarding how to coast for upcoming election. Sowore, as he sees today, he might be very popular in the south, but here in the north, he is not very popular. I must tell you that he is not very popular. In fact, over there, he's seen as somebody who is an anti-north. So I think it's very important that we have a melting point where the north is going to see him as somebody who is appealing to them. So much work needs to be done there, you know. It shouldn't just end in Lagos and Abuja, because of course we know at the moment the youth are beginning to.
We lost you there, but I think we got the gist of what you were saying. Mr. Sowore is a bit seen as anti-North, so he needs to be a bit more egalitarian. Thank you. Mr. Aruna, are you ready for us now?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go straight to the point.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I think I have to harp on the issue of voter education, which the earlier speakers spoke about. It's very, very important. Sowore should use his platform to energize the youth to be more involved in the electoral process. That will go a long way, you know, in facilitating people's involvement, you know, in the electoral process. That is one. The second point I want to raise is the issue of that Sowore himself raised, the issue of the church involvement in democracy. if you look at the history of Philippines, there's one man called Cardinal Sin. Cardinal Sin was very auspicious and instrumental in the fall of Marcos. So I think Pastor Ighodalo, yes, I have to watch you on video and listen to you on radio. So I think there should be more involvement in part of the church in making sure that the right things are done in society. And my question for Sowore, the question is that, what are you going to do differently this time around if you want to contest in the next election? What will you do differently from what you've been doing in the past? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alfred Obinna, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go straight to my contribution. My contribution is many people have said so many things, most especially relating to voting, and people are not being popular in different spheres of the country. What I think we should do, and I think that's the best solution for Nigeria right now. What I think we should do is for us to suspend any attempt for a 2023 election. What this would do, the ripple effect of this is just like dropping a pebble in an ocean. You see that ripple effect. What it would do is, if we can start now and start advocating that 2023 election be stopped, for the reason, number one, is that so that people who are interested in the union of Nigeria can come to a round table to really discuss whether we should continue the way we are continuing. Because what this does also for us is that it suspends the 1999 Constitution, which is the bane of our problem. But we sometimes, maybe for so many people, they don't know this, or sometimes we just want to shy away from it. The political class who have continuously recycled themselves they are very interested in that document. And that document is the leeway for them to continue to behave in the ways that they've behaved in the last 21 years, since 1999. We must come to realize that another 4 years of this 1999 Constitution will not bring us peace and progress. I'm not just the only person saying it. And I'm not also trying to, sing the songs of maybe Nina's and the songs of maybe Tony and Nadia and those people who are of the same, point of view. But it is something that we've, over the time, from conversations with very, very experienced legal luminaries, have come to realize that that's exactly our problem. We cannot grow an economy where people in the South, for example, I own a brewery, and in the North, you are destroying my products. You're saying it's not good because of Sharia. And then when it is time for me to pay tax to the federal government, you also enjoy taking tax from that same revenue. So I think we must come to realize that, this hand would only wash this hand. This hand cannot wash itself perfectly. So two hands have to wash itself. So we need to first and foremost understand that we have a major problem. And that problem is the 1999 Constitution. What that does is that once we can stop the 2023 process to 2023 election, it automatically would stop that 1999 document, because there will be a question, a Nigerian question.
Thank you. You are repeating yourself, my brother.
You are repeating yourself.
Thank you. Mr. Adeloye, please ask your question. Please go straight to the question. I beg. Please. I know everybody is very emotional, but please straight to the question.
Thank you, sir. My question to Mr. Sowore is, now that a lot of people are mentally seceded from the country called Nigeria, from our country, like the Oduduwa, the Biafra, and some of the northern area, what can you do to bring those people back to the table? Because the Nigeria we are at now, where things is going, we need everyone to be on the table. How can you do it? How can you make everyone come together so that we can do something meaningful? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Foley B. Unmute yourself, please.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Just go straight to your question. We can hear you, please.
Okay, I think my question is simple. My question is goes to Mr. Sowore concerning the case that he has with the federal government. What are they doing about the case? Because I know they are trying to use the case to tie him down. So what is the situation of the case now, and what are the stage that the case is now?
All right. Thank you very much, Folibi. Thank you. Good. Mr. Ademi Guji, please, your question. Straight to the point, please.
Yeah, mine is a form of suggestion to start a revolution now from the grassroots. Let's enlighten people from the grassroots, try to energize them, enlighten them. Let's try to capture local government politically, show people what is going on. Go to the states, do the same thing. It might take time. We're trying to fight this battle from outside. We are not winning. Let's go inside. Let's get inside and try to fight. That's my answer.
Thank you. Afolabi Ajidan, please. Straight to the point, please. Yeah, unmute yourself, Folabi. Straight to the point.
Sorry, good evening. My question is this. NSAS was a very good and powerful movement. It was sad the way it ended. Do you think that NSAS should be revitalized? And if so, how would you encourage the youth to come out again? Thank you.
Very good question. Thank you very much. Jeffrey Edagonya. Please.
Good evening, sir. And good evening, everyone. Are you hearing me, sir?
Don't worry, we can hear you. Just go ahead.
I appreciate every one of you for making this show. Nigeria. But one thing I want to tell is that we are looking for power. Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Hello. Yes, we are looking for power. If we are looking for power, if anyone invites Sowore for big party, you should not ignore them, because this is where we miss it last election. It saddened my heart a lot that big party was calling Sowore, but Mr. Sowore was ignoring them. If you don't want to dwell with the sinners, you will not overcome them. I don't know, when Jesus Christ came to this world, he dwelt with the sinner. And thank God, he's overcome the sinner today. And he's giving the name that is above every other name. That as we mention the name of Jesus, every knee should bow. If Sowore want to rule Nigeria, if any big party in Nigeria call him, let him honor them. Because if we hold this power, then we can make a law. Look at General Muhammadu Buhari today. He's the one that say, okay, do this, do that. But when he was looking for power, he don't have anything to say. But when he got the power, today, where we are, anything that Buhari say, that is what we adapt to. So please, sir, that is my own. I like Sowore with all my heart, but if he refuses to answer to all the elders, because when you refuse to listen to elders, you are nowhere going. But when you get the power, you can ignore them. I don't know if you people can understand what I'm saying. Just try.
I understand what you're talking. In fact, I was worried before. I thought you were talking about worry having a party, but that's okay. Apparently, you were talking about Sowore or Sowore. It's okay. All right. I think I understand you, and I think Mr. Sowore understands you. You're asking him he should please join a big party if they invite him and listen to. He'll speak for himself. It's okay. But we want somebody who will use power very well, not deception to get power and then do whatever you like with power. We are tired of that in Nigeria. We want somebody who will be sincere about power. One, speak to me very quickly.
Good evening. My question is for Sowore. What are you doing with regards to the younger generation who are interested in politics? What measures are you taking, are you considering in trying to encourage them to join politics? Because I feel there's a gap between the older ones and the younger generation. What are you doing to bridge this gap?
Thank you. I think somebody had already asked that question when he was talking about NSAS. Dr. Salako, please, very quickly.
Thank you very much. I will go straight to the point. Nigeria has never been in a democracy since 1966. The independence leader, they got independence, but our military was still going for training overseas with the colonialists. And all along, our military has been ruling us, except for 1983 and 2007 to 2015. Even the current one is a military man. So we have to go back to our pre-independence arrangements. As somebody said the other time, restructuring or reconstitution or whatever you call it, to go and have a parliamentary structure, true federalism, maybe even reduce the number of these bogus states. So the question now is, what are you doing, Mr. Sowore, to work with other pro-restructuring advocates in Nigeria? Do you think we should have another agenda for 2023 apart from restructuring, in which leadership recruitment, proper leadership recruitment will be embedded? Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Wali. Very quickly, straight to the point. And I think at this point, we'll ask Mr. Sowore to come back and answer some of these questions. Then we'll take another round of questions and we will close for tonight. So, Mr. Wali, unmute yourself, please. We can't hear you.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Someone talked about stopping the 2023 election, which I think is a very difficult task to do. But I think it's a good idea. I think we can make a lot of statements if we can not like tell the federal government to allow us to go for a referendum and let us know if it's going to be a regional system of government, or if people that are not satisfied with one Nigeria want to break away, or if people that are satisfied with one Nigeria want to have their own election, which is transition of results, and also making sure that elections are credible through diaspora voting. Those two things are the main points which we've been missing out of this, because we always go to every election hoping that we get good leaders. But unfortunately, the 2015, 2019, we did the same. So this 2023 is not going to be different. Even if we educate people on voting for 2 years from now till 2023, it won't change anything, I tell you, because the system has made it so difficult for worst leaders to get to power. So if we can work on getting a referendum, which will allow us to go on regional system of government, or go for a good transmission of electronic transmission of results, which will allow us to get a credible candidate, or also add diaspora voting, which will also enable us to get more votes from the people that are, that are in the diaspora. Thank you. Those are the things I want to say.
Thank you very much. Olanrewaju, ET, your question very quickly. I think we lost him. Mr. Sowore, do you want to reply to some of these questions or do we continue?
Well, so that the questions are not lost in translation, let me take a
few. Yeah, take a job. But let's be quick because so many people want to ask questions.
Yes.
Go ahead.
20 questions. I want to make a general clarification. One is that before somebody runs to town tomorrow that Sowore is not running in
we didn't hear you.
It's not true.
We didn't hear you.
I said that there are certain special circumstances that must be brought to bear. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, I wanted to make a clarification that that in 2023, I don't want anybody walking away with the impression that I said I'm not running in 2023. What I said, and I will repeat myself very clearly, that we will run for office at any time, but we will not run on situations that have been predetermined. And that
his network is not okay.
We have mentioned all the institutions that are elections in advance based on. Can you hear me still? Can you hear me?
I think you need to change your position.
Doesn't look like. Huh?
I think we can hear you, but it's a bit muffled, but we can hear you.
Okay. So second is these clarifications that are being made here today. It seems like so many people have never actually listened to the ideas that prevailed from us in 2019, which some of them have become dominant now. One of it was that the 1999 Constitution was illegitimate as far as I'm concerned and should have been abolished a long time ago. It was not a people's constitution. Second, I said that there would be a need to abolish at least the Senate in Nigeria. We don't need more than a unicameral legislative system. And I mentioned countries that are doing well with unicameral legislative assemblies. One of them being South Korea and recently Senegal. Third, a lot of the ideas that we brought out in 2019 were stolen by the ruling party, but they can't implement it. Ideas like minimum wage, which we proposed to be 100,000 naira, when the naira at that time was still at 250. They couldn't do it, but now it's stolen the idea. And several others. So it seems like so many people who are asking questions here have not heard me before. I also agree strongly, I'm going to pick, because some of them are suggestions, with those who are saying that we must stop now to discuss 2023 except certain minimum conditions are met, including the abrogation of that constitution. That we have an interim constitution, which South Africans had after the end of apartheid. Because the way Nigeria is now is like apartheid South Africa of 1990 until Mandela was released, and quickly a lot of things were done right, and South Africa is where it is today. Not the best, but at least manageable. I wanted to say something, and I will say it. I don't want to offend any of our brothers who are living abroad. When I hear voters' education, it usually comes from those of us who are a little bit far removed from the reality on the ground. Nigerians are educated. They know how to vote. The middle class registered en masse because celebrities, churches, everybody mobilized people to vote in 2019. That led to registration of over 84 million voters. Okay. But when the middle class people went to queue up to vote in Lagos, and area boys came with machetes. Nobody could wait. And the police that was supposed to protect the voting units ran away, or they came with the area boys. What do you want middle class to do? Do you expect middle class to carry AK-47 to go and vote? We are living in an era of AK-47 democracy. In Kogi State, it was well recorded how people queued up to vote, and polling unit after polling unit, these area boys and thugs started arriving, accompanied by security agencies. What do you want the middle class to do? People are educated. In fact, I was surprised that the people who have political education are probably the poorer people. But the people who created the condition that we are in Nigeria today knew what they were doing 30 years ago. They have impoverished the society to the point that there's no amount of education you have. When they bring their own brand of democratic practice, your education will evaporate. So who wants to go and die just to go and vote for somebody whose election has already been determined? In my village where I voted, I had a drone hovering over my voting place so that we'll capture everything. The drone is still with the DSS in Ondo State today. The army came and shot at the drone, brought it down, and they seized it because they know the drone has evidence of corruption. And shortly after that, they made a regulation in Nigeria that for you to bring drone into Nigeria, you must register with the NSA, the Office of National Security Advisor. Of course, that license except you have money. But I know our diaspora brothers, when they speak on these issues, they will blame us for not mobilizing people to vote or to register a voters' education. There's no amount of voter education you can do when thugs have taken over your electoral process, when criminals are the ones running INEC, when security agencies that are supposed to be neutral have become part and parcel of the criminal process of election manipulation, when judges can just wake up in the middle of the night and suspend candidates who have been validly elected in party primaries, or even remove party leaders, in jurisdictions that are far away from there, as we now have even with APC and PDP happening in these last few days. So if you are following the electoral process, if you are following this trajectory in Nigeria today, why would you be deceiving yourself that somehow, without a revolt, which is known as a revolution, that any of these things will change? It won't change because you wish that they change. It is not true that people don't have political education in this country. It's not true, because I went to 34 states in the north, in particular, where we thought people didn't know what was going on in the country. They were glued to their transition radios, listening to BBC Hausa service. They know all the candidates, including me at that time, and they knew what was going on in the country, but they're also hungry. And the people who made them hungry, they just go and hide their money, and on election day, they come and distribute it to them. Except something is done to stop, we have to have a stop press. Wait a moment, we are not doing any more except these minimum conditions are fulfilled. Otherwise, the brother that said that, people that election votes do count, I don't know which votes you have observed. If you say vote count, I'll ask you, did the votes in Kogi count when they voted in 2019? Did votes in Imo State count when they voted there? Since I came out of detention, I've participated in 6 local government elections, including that of Lagos. It was predetermined that there's no state in Nigeria where the local government election results don't tally with the ruling party or the governor's party. It is the way it is done. So why are we here disputing the fact that the process has been polluted? Some of them, like I said, some of other things are suggestions. Somebody also made an accusation that my ideas were poor when I came in 2019. That's not true. The ideas were so powerful, it gripped the nation. Everybody was stealing from it, you know. Don't forget, some of it I mentioned, I was the one who, controversially, as most of you know, brought about the monetization of cannabis. Everybody laughed at me, you know. Sowore is smoking weed, even though I've never tasted weed in my life before. And ultimately, now Ondo State governor wants to be selling weed. There is a bill before the National Assembly now to legalize marijuana because suddenly their brains have woken up. You see, when you have leaders who don't know their left from their right, there's nothing you can benefit from them until that period comes where people with ideas can defeat people without ideas. This country is not going anywhere. Somebody mentioned restructuring. I don't have anything against restructuring. I've always said it, and I cannot be misquoted because it's on record. My problem is that even the best of ideas cannot function where you don't have leaders. If you want to restructure Nigeria, who do you think will lead the process of restructuring? Is it not the same people? It's the same people. We are talking about restructuring Nigeria. Some few months ago, the Senate is proposing creating 50-something more states. You know, are we living in alternate realities? But who do you think, whose idea do you think will prevail? Is the people who want more states, even when most of the states today are not viable. The other thing about restructuring that was not addressed is also sustainability. We have 36 states already that are not functioning. So you want to make us have 6 regions. Fantastic. Those regions, who are going to lead them? When you form the regions, won't you still need leaders, decent leaders, sound leaders, leaders with character to man those places? Of course, you still would. Because even as bad as we feel about the federal government today, some state governors are worse than others in terms of how they manage their states. But when it's time to shout about what is wrong, they will be shouting on top of their voices. My state, Ondo State, made a bill yesterday about open grazing. Everybody was hailing the governor of Ondo State. And I made a comment on Punch newspaper. I said, now we need another bill. That is the full salary payment bill. People said, nah, the open grazing is enough for now. Now don't worry about salary. What are people going to eat? Grass. The governor has not paid full salary in almost a year. They pay 10%. Kogi State doesn't pay full salary. They don't fix roads. So leadership keep coming up. If you want to restructure Nigeria, you need sound people to restructure Nigeria. And secondly, you need good leaders to still manage the restructured Nigeria. I disagree that the restructuring of Nigeria will be undertaken by the people who brought Nigeria to this sorry state that it is today. That is my only disagreement with those who are proposing restructuring. I don't want anybody who want to restructure Nigeria to be the 90-year-old Nigerians. If they want to restructure Nigeria today, they won't call me and you to their meeting. It's still going to be traditional rulers, the bylaws, temporal and religious, and all those failed structures that will be brought to that meeting. That's why we keep calling for a system that will halt and put an end to the rotting system. And that system is known as a revolution. And anybody who is asking for a fundamental change to Nigeria, any fundamental change to what is known as Nigeria today, including restructuring, secession, referendum, anything that is not in that constitution called 1999, you are also calling for a revolution. You may not know it. If you want a referendum, you are calling for a revolution because nobody will do it based on the existing system. If you are calling for even restructuring, it is a revolution. Anything that will work for Nigeria of the future is going to be a revolution of any kind. If you are calling for secession, you are calling for a revolution. I don't know why people don't understand this. Of course, these things are now becoming prevalent in terms of understanding to a lot of our people. I have 20 questions. They are taking some of them nominally as they appeal to what I think generally are the expectations of those who ask the question. But I see here also a lot of just suggestions. Then there's somebody say I should join a big party. Big party. If I join a big party, you will never hear of the big parties of good ideas. They will bury you alive in those parties. It's just to lure you to come and die. I cannot, in good conscience, go and join APC if I want to change this country. I cannot, in good conscience, go and join PDP if I want to change. If my goal is to change our the objectives of making a progressive nation. So if they ask me to join them, they are not asking me to join them in good faith. They ask me to join them so that they can show to the world that I'm not different from them. That's what the big parties want when they say, come and join us. Somebody asked about younger generations that want to join politics. It's a lot of work. They live in different realities. A lot of them have lost hope in politics. But I will tie that to the issue of a very great point somebody raised about NSAS. NSAS for me became the beginning of a new political era for young people. It was a seismic change. It was a turn for me. It was itching towards a revolution. It was an idea of an unexpected revolution, and it would have achieved exactly that objective. But it wasn't well planned. It wasn't inclusive enough. It wasn't resilient enough, and as a result, was not sustained. Going in that direction next time, which I think should be a fulcrum for our future engagement with this rotten system. We just have to plan better. Do we need another NSAS? Absolutely yes. We need NSAS 2.0, as I like to refer to it. So electronic voting and diaspora voting, I'm in support of that. Everybody knows that I campaigned on that platform. That led me to about 7 countries during the election. I campaigned outside of Nigeria. So I'm with you on that. I'm also definitely seeing to support electronic voting because I'm a digital person. So I have a question that said that I'm seen as anti-not. That is part of the gimmicks of the political class. Some people say I'm anti-not because they know that's how to fool their fellow Northerners. But the Northerners themselves know who's anti-not by now. Some people even say that I'm anti-church, because Sahara reporters write things about pastors and GOs who don't do things right by their own standards. So I don't think we should worry about that. Last thing I want to say is my case with the federal government. I have said it, and I will end it here, Pastor, for this session of the question and answer. If anything is left out that is glaring, we'll repeat that in the next session, which is last session. Is that I am just anti anything that is wrong, and we have to go in the direction of right if we are going to get out of the mess into which we've been thrown by successive leaders and administrators of this country known as Nigeria. And I'm totally with every one of you. I'm on board with every one of you who are unequivocally and unapologetically for the progress of the Nigerian nation or the people of Nigeria.
Mo wà lórí Zoom, so kìíní yẹn cut off. Ó wá ìyẹn ni mo ṣe wá. Mo ń dẹ́ lóhùn bọ̀ tó gbọ́. Mo wà lórí Zoom pé jẹ́ pé lórí another line.
There's an interruption here. I don't know. The admin should help us with that. All right, so that's the question. Those are the answers I could provide because I had to take them as a group just to answer to so many of the questions that have been asked.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sowore. We're just going to take a final set of a few questions because we promised it. We're actually out of time. We should have finished about 5-10 minutes ago, but we'll just take a final set of questions, and then I will ask you to give your closing remarks as to what you would do if you became president of the Federal Republic. Just to let the people on the platform know that we're very grateful for their attendance. We'll be here next week, same time, 5 o'clock, with another great guest that we're going to ask questions about this nation, Nigeria, and see how we can move Nigeria forward. What we're hoping is that the things that people learn from this platform, you will implement, you will granulate. I've heard all what my brother Sowore has told me about the church getting involved and the mosque getting involved. I will do my best and also get my colleagues to be a bit more sensitive. They are getting sensitive, but now we hear that they're even wanting to sanction what people say on their pulpits, but it's okay. We will try and say the things the right way so that people can be motivated. All I know is that we want a better Nigeria for every single Nigerian, and not for a class who are making themselves privileged to the detriment of the majority. We're going to take our 6 or 7 questions and then we'll take our final remarks. Mr. Sowore, thank you very much for coming on the platform. Thank you very much for your risk and your investment in Nigeria, even at the risk of your own personal freedom. You know, it's not easy to go into detention, and a lot of people don't have the courage to speak their minds and to speak truth to power and so on and so forth. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And where the people are silent, it takes the silence of the majority for tyranny to thrive. So I'm going to ask Alex Jonathan, I'm going to ask Auntie Lizzie, I'm going to ask LD Otako, Olufunke Adeoye, and Olusegun to ask their questions, okay? And I think we will just close at that. Otherwise, we'll be here until Jesus comes. And I'm not ready for Jesus to come right now. We still have to turn Nigeria around before he comes, so that he can find a good Nigeria. So Alex Jonathan, unmute yourself, ask your question. Auntie Lizzie, get ready after him. And please go straight to the point. We're totally out of time. Thank you.
All right. I want to ask a question regarding observation, especially what I said just now about, of course, I also agree with you regarding the issue of ballot paper system and how they're using it to disrupt elections, their laws and police, which has been unfavorable to Nigeria. So, with all this in mind, what is your opinion? I mean, what can we do so that we can have a better way to vote? Because coming out to vote now is like endangering your life. Of course, that's what it is. They have a lot of shooting at the voting unit. And sometimes it's dangerous to go out there. And a lot of us might be careful for our life. So, of the opinion that if we can start at this time now preaching, maybe churches and not start preaching about against this unfavorable system of election, which I met you, ballot paper and all
Very much. I didn't get most of it, but I hope Mr. Sowore got it. And your question. In the meantime, you can please leave your phone numbers and your emails on our platform so that we can get in touch with you. And if you do want to get involved in what we're doing, what would you like to say? Auntie Lizzie, please ask your question straight to the point.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good
I don't
evening.
know if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Don't worry about that. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm so sorry. The place is a bit dark. These are one of the things Sowore is fighting for, electricity. Okay, so I'm not asking a question. I want to contribute to it. I want to urge the public, to everybody that are listening to Sowore this night, to try and create platforms. Very important for us. We need platforms for us to be able to recruit these people. Sowore talked about the thugs over there, out there. Because during the election, I'm one of those who encountered such thing where I was almost being attacked by 11 or 15 guys that were sent to me. And so the people that were at the polling unit on my behalf were unable to stand or to count for me because they were being chased away from the polling unit. I contested the election for House of Assembly. And now, if we want to take over this country, we do not need to join APC or PDP. For those that are telling Sowore to join those people, I'm very sorry, it's not okay. Because joining them, even if you are Jesus Christ, you will change and you will join them permanently. So I will advise that people go out there, create platforms for women, create platforms for youth, for young people, for secondary school people, create platform. Look for what will educate people, what will encourage people. There is hunger in the land, and if we can, those of us who have the money overseas, those of you who live abroad, and you are able to eat your 3 square meal over there, there are people here that cannot eat 2 square meals a day. Why don't you look for platforms where you could contribute your quotas, help these organizations, NGOs that are doing one thing or the other in order to bring people under one umbrella? So when we begin to organize things like this, it will help us to build the community, the environment, the thugs out there, reduce them. Because a lot of them are being given this power to do what they are doing because of hunger. So if we're able to enter them, look for a way to enter them, create organizations that will bring them out of what they are doing, try to promote them, try to help them, try to fix them, and it will go a long way. Before 2023, we'll be able to make at least claim half or maybe 50% of them to our side. It is not easy, but I just believe by the time we start working, it will work out for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I have Mr. LG Otako, please, very quickly?
All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Sowore. I've got a very direct question for you. Is it possible that in the coming election, in 2023 election, while we are campaigning to educate our fellow citizens and teach them various things, we can have a specific. We can basically, what I'm trying to say is, is it possible to capture a local ward in the coming election, concentrate anywhere in the states, concentrate our resources, and win an election in a small local ward, and then use
some of the people in
everything we've done in that local ward as a template to show Nigerians what progressives are about? I mean, I think it's really possible. And during the NSAS protest, I knew a lot of people in diaspora like myself who made a lot of contributions, and we didn't know who we're sending money to. But looking at our fellow citizens out on the streets, it woke a lot of passion among most of us here. So I'm wondering if coming election, and the battle for Nigeria is on many fronts, on the local front, state front, on the national front. We seem to concentrate more on the national front. If we can capture, is it possible to capture a local ward, win an election in a local ward, and then pour in resources, fix that area, and then we show Nigerians what we are capable of?
No problem. Thank you very much. I think Sowore will answer that, and so on and so forth. Olusegun, quickly, and the last question will be Olufunke Adeloye.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
We
I'm
can
very
hear
happy.
you. Just
Yeah. Thanks, Pastor, and thanks, Sowore. I think you are one of the shining lights that we have left in Nigeria. I think we need one single front. The one lady just spoke before this last person spoke. We need one single front. We need one single front. You know, Yoruba Nation, Biafra, all this going on. I don't know how somebody could, if Sowore could do it. I know you cannot take, maybe all your bank accounts be suspended already, but the way you coordinated your electionary campaign, the way you raise money on that sofa there, and after everything, you put it out there, how the money was spent. We believe in you. Can we have such arrangement to bring everybody together? Because if you don't do that, we're just going to be fighting different fronts. And then we don't, when you win on one sport, then you can, it ladders, tomato sojukon omawo. So I think we need one front like that to make things happen in Nigeria. Because votes, all this what we're doing right now is not actually making any sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Olufunke Adeoye, please, last question.
Thank you, Pastor. I think what I was going to say, in 2019, we listened to a lot of debate, political debate as it was from the aspirants vying for the presidential seat at that time. And we listened to most of the debates that were organized. And we were hearing wonderful and laudable ideas coming from different candidates, on the platform at that time. Some of the candidates that we had there were people that would take strategy, different in their day-to-day job, strategic things for organizations, motivational speaking and all that. The question I want to ask, which had been burning since that 2019 was there no conversation around everybody coming together to root out this? There's power in synergy. There's power in coming together, isn't it? If we want, instead of each person standing for different parties, can we not come together as a body together? Was there no conversation around that? Or because if we are not able to coordinate that among ourselves, how can we coordinate Nigeria? And that's my question. So was there no platform for that, such that all those different, all of you together, I can't name everybody that has all these laudable ideas. We have one focus. We want to root out these major political parties so we can move forward. Can we not come together? Was there a conversation like that? And if there was not, can we have that towards the next election, please?
All right, Mr. Sowore, I think you can answer these questions. The last lady was asking 2019, Kingsley Moghalu, yourself, Eladro Toye, Obi Ezekwesili, and a few others almost came together. What happened to that? And what would you do? What do we do going forward? What are your last words? And how would you run this country if you were president? Very quickly, please answer those questions. I'm afraid that's about all that we have for tonight. Please join us same time next week. You can also leave your information on the platform, phone number and email, so that we can invite you subsequently. And also, if you have any suggestions or ideas of what we need to do and who we need to put on the platform to speak to, please let us also know those people so that we can put them on the platform and speak to them. I'd like to know also from Mr. Sowore, what role are you going to be playing going forward to put this Nigeria ship together? Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you all. Last words from you, our guests.
Thank you so much. Quickly, I'll start with the last question from the lady here, and I must say that every effort must be made as well, Pastor Itua, to get females to participate on these platforms. You can see Their questions are pretty unique and powerful. So it's part of the problems we must overcome and conversations going forward. How to get our Nigerian female folks, women folks, to get involved, because were they more involved in politics than they are now, probably it would be easier to even have some of these problems solved. But again, that's a discussion for future engagement. Strategy from fresh candidates. Well, I was very open to the idea of having all the new candidates coming together and supporting one person. And upon attending just one meeting, which was my last, I did request, and Tokwe Fashua is my witness. He wrote extensively about this, that instead of each of the candidates bringing 5 candidates from their political parties who are aspirants, why don't we do primaries in our respective parties? Whomever is a flag bearer from my party, Feladro Toye's party, and other parties, then we can come and choose between those flag bearers, the youth representative, the fresh candidate representative, fresh face representative. They refused. And I left at that point based on this principle disagreement with what I knew would be an unfavorable outcome that will lead to controversy. The others continued. Kingsley Moghalu continued. Feladro Toye continued. They chose Obi Ezekwesili as the arm for whatever they did. And Feladro Toye won. No longer party to this after my first meeting. I opted out. And Moghalu refused. No, at the beginning, Fela was introduced as a winner of this consensus candidate group. Moghalu accepted initially in that group. And by the time the meeting was over, Moghalu had left, had disagreed with the outcome of the meeting. Then Obi Ezekwesili, who was the umpire, by the following week had entered the presidential race herself. I'm just making this clarification for those who might have been confused with some falsehood that it was because that I lost in that meeting. I was never part of it beyond the first day. And the meeting we had at Charlie Boy's house, same day, to conclude this. You know, what people should understand a bit about me is that apart from just partaking in politics on a partisan scale for the first time, I'm an investigative reporter, well-known through Sahara reporters. I do background checks. I knew what was going on in the background, and it's not for disclosure here. And I knew how it was planned and who were the people pulling the strings in the whole, among the youths. You heard about youth. Not all the youths were contesting for themselves. So many of them were contesting for people who were already contesting. But all these things are well known, and it will be better exposed some other day. So going forward, I'm also available. But it must be that the processes are clean and transparent and not involving any kind of interference from the failed politicians that we say we are running away from. That I must be very, because I know where I stand on issues. And the moment I have that conversation and your stance is different from mine, I make it very clear that I don't trust you. And that is what led to what you said that period. But even those who participated in those days have come back to me and said, oh, wow, your clairvoyance was clear. This is what we found out. We are sorry about how things ended. But I wasn't the cause of that problem. It was a different group, a set of people. And then one suggestion that was made is by a brother who said we should capture a word and make an example of it. I'm sorry, the problem that Nigeria has now is more than a word problem. It's more than a state problem. The truth is that if you capture a word and you want to make an example of that word as a good word, the people who are running Nigeria will destroy that world right in front of you. They will, if it's a local government ward, the chairman of the local government will send thugs come and destroy that your ward. If it's the local government chairperson that is running a local government that is different, the state governor will come after and make sure that your allocations are not released. If it's the federal government and you see that a state is run differently, they will figure out how to cause division. They did it in 1983. Was it in 1983 with Balarabe Musa, when he was running Kano State with Bala Usman and all of them, making an example of a state. They went and impeached him, you know. So because they wanted to make sure that there is no state that is run in a way that challenges the status quo, that Nigeria is not manageable. So if we want to solve Nigeria's problem, we can't think small. We have to think big. This is a country that needs a lot of catching up to do. You know, on the global scale, we can't be thinking about a world. Nigeria, if we are not careful, Afghanistan is going to start getting better than Nigeria if we are not careful. It's not a cause, you know. So I'm sorry, I don't think we should be limiting our energies and focus on capturing a world. That is limiting how to solve this problem, because you can't. A world cannot. They will cover you up. They will destroy the place. If there's a world that is functioning in Nigeria today, they will nuke the place with the nuclear bomb, so that nobody will ever try that again. That is the mindset of the leaders we have in Nigeria. And, you know, Lizzie, who was a member of our party, who ran in 20, the lady who spoke, her name is Lizzie, who ran in 2019 with me, would tell you what we went through in her part of Lagos, Etiosa side. We want to see a traditional ruler to visit him as part of our awareness. Before we left, because we didn't drop money for him, he asked thugs to relay us right in front of his palace in Etiosa. Lizzie that is speaking with you could not go back home because she ran for office for almost 1 week. They were pursuing her up and down. And it is not because people are not educated, but it's because they have become close-minded. I will also give an example with NSAS. Some of the people who participated in NSAS, go and ask. Out of excitement that the political space has been opened by NSAS, went and contested in this last local government election in Lagos. They were not defeated, they were humiliated. Probably some of them are here listening to what I'm telling you today. So it is not, I'm not disputing or disregarding suggestions like this. I am just saying that if we are going to move forward, at this point we've lost so much ground, 60 years, it has to be something big. Big ideas must fill all the spaces in this country. Small ideas can't take us anywhere. Trying to occupy a refrigerator instead of occupying a warehouse is not going to solve Nigeria's problem. Nigeria has been destroyed to the point that anybody who wants to rescue this Nigeria now must be willing to put his life on the line, not hide in one corner, hoping that things will be all right. And I'm not saying this again. I want to respect all the suggestions that have been brought forward, but just saying it because, most importantly, the humanity of Nigeria is at stake. What we are fighting for here is also the pride of Africa that has been a disgrace to Africa. The entire African continent, and I'm sure the rest of the world, where we have our people scattered all over, are looking for the Nigeria that can give them a sign, hope that things can get better in the nearest future. And that's where I stand. It's the reason I have disagreements with a lot of groups, political parties, individuals, ethnic, enclaves. Because I keep saying, at the end, even when you form your republic, you are still going to need good people. And the people that are destroying Nigeria today, preponderantly, are from all the ethnic groups combined together. So why deceive ourselves that we can make Nigeria better by just hiding in one corner? If you hide in one corner, the part of Nigeria that is not good will pursue you there. Even those of us who left this country for 20 years, Nigeria follows us everywhere. Even those who have changed their citizenship, Nigeria follows you everywhere. The rot, the odor, and the character of Nigeria is what makes every Nigerian feel bad, whether they're in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria. And I see that a lot of us are eager to correct and change this. And that's where I'm with all of you guys. And I believe and I assure you that whatever it will take, on my part, we will do the best we can to change Nigeria during our lifetime. It is not a big deal to do it. It is just for us to start thinking about how to do it, standing by each other, making sure that there's focus, there is unity of the oppressed, and ensuring that once and for all, we put an end to this shame called Nigerian leadership. That is what all of this has been about. And we cannot do it without a revolt. On that note, Pastor, I thank you so much for inviting me today and hosting this event. I thank all the participants. At the point, I think we're close to 450 participants on this platform, and over 342 people are still around, a lot of comments. I'll be available to do more of this type of conversations on your platform. And also, as we rightly decided here, please help us tell the other pastors, your friends, let's all get our hands dirty and save this country so that when Jesus comes, he can stop by Nigeria too.
I'm sure he will. And I think Jesus has a very good interest in Nigeria. I'm happy to go back and tell my pastor friends that you are not.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Hold on. I think the Babalawo that follows you around frightens them a little bit.
I enjoy this, Pastor. We want
and I know
more
that it's not pastors you are trying to frighten with
Pastor,
Babalawo.
we want more.
I think you are trying to frighten the government with Babalawo. And I know that deep down you're a Christian and you're not Babalawo. But that's okay. It's been a very, very interesting conversation. I like the frankness. I like the fact that you've been able to give us some very, very great ideas and things like that. And I'm sure that you and I will get together a bit more. And like you, I am committed to seeing good governance in Nigeria. And we will see God's grace. I want to thank everyone who has been on this platform. I want to thank Mr. Sowore for coming. I want to assure him that his offer to come back again, we shall take it up. And then we shall see how to make Nigeria work. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I want the ladies to take up the challenge. We want a lot more ladies involved on this platform. I'm sorry we couldn't take your question, Itoha. I had to follow process.
Pastor Itoha, I want to thank you.
Okay, sir. Apologies accepted.
And then please leave your name on the platform. Leave your name on the platform. Let's make this thing work. God bless you all. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Hi. God bless.
I think when it comes back,
thank you, sir. God bless you.
God bless you.